All right. Welcome back to the bright side, folks. We are talking about peptides and proteins, and we've been spending the last couple of weeks talking about the amino acid glutamine, which is a key component, a key building block of what is perhaps the most important, certainly one of the most important and one of the most significant peptides in the body, one of the most significant biochemicals in the body, really. The cancer fighter, the disease fighter, the cell protector, glutathione. Glutamine is a key component of glutathione. Using glutamine supplements, using glutamine in foods is a great way to upregulate, increase your own glutathione, increase your own cancer-fighting, your body's own cancer-fighting properties, just using glutamine supplements or using glutamine in a food sources. We'll tell you about those in a minute here. Glutamine's a major, in addition to being a major amino acid, it is the most abundant amino acid in the body. It's also a major fuel source from cells in the same way glucose is a fuel source, sugar is a fuel source. And glutamine supplementation, for this reason, can be very important for helping smooth the ups and downs of what I call the high blood sugar, low blood sugar roller coaster. Using glutamine as a supplement is a great way to minimize hypoglycemia, low blood sugar. It's a great way to deal with sugar cravings, carbohydrate cravings. If you're one of those folks that just can't seem to get enough sugar, if you feel like you need to snack in the middle of the day or 10 o'clock in the morning, when you get that low blood sugar, you feel like you need some kind of sweet or bread or some kind of snacky food. Using glutamine can help stabilize that low blood sugar. That is really, folks, that is really one of the most important strategies for keeping your body strong and healthy, for keeping diseases at bay, for helping minimize degeneration, is keeping your blood sugar stable. It's the second point on our triangle of disease, and with the exception of maybe working on your digestive health, there's nothing more important than keeping your blood sugar stable. And of course, one of the most important strategies is to eat more protein and eat more glutamine. Eat more glutamine-containing protein or supplementing with glutamine. If you're under high stress, surgery, diseases, got cancer, God forbid, glutamine is an important supplement for helping the body handle stresses. High concentrations of glutamine are found in the brain. It's important for the nervous system. It can help improve the symptoms of movement disorders, Parkinson's disease, dementias, even for just improving memory or for studying or focusing and concentration. If you're a student, if you're a college student, or if you're studying for something and you feel like you need a little bit of help to help your brain focus, using glutamine supplements can be helpful in this regard too. It's important for the liver. It's important for the immune system. How many benefits do you want from one supplement, from one amino acid? This is all coming from glutamine, and of course, glutamine's major role in the body is to help the digestive system. It's a primary fuel for the cells of the digestive tract. Now, I supplement personally with about 5 grams of glutamine a day. I skip a day here and there. I use my glutamine when I come home from the gym. It's a very important muscle-building supplement, as I've said before. You can't pick up a bodybuilding magazine without seeing at least 1 or 2 or 3 advertisements for some kind of glutamine supplement. You can get your glutamine from food if you prefer. You're going to have to go high protein. Whey and egg are good sources of glutamine. Whey is probably the best source of glutamine in foods. If you're vegan, you can use soy, fermented soy ideally. High protein grains have some glutamine. Wheat's going to get you some glutamine. Quinoa, soy, as I say, other beans will have glutamine in it. Cabbage and cruciferous vegetables are also going to be good sources. And mushrooms, especially shiitake mushrooms, can also provide you with a little bit of glutamine. And then, of course, there's the supplemental route. You can easily do 1 gram a day of glutamine. I like glutamine powder. You can find glutamine capsules or glutamine tablets, but I like the glutamine powder. It's a little bit more cost effective. You could put a teaspoonful, which is 5 grams. There's 5 grams typically of powder in a teaspoon. You can put it in water. It doesn't have any taste. You can sip on it or you can drink it down. I put it in my smoothie when I come home from the gym, as I say. And if you have special needs, intestinal permeability issues, you're dealing with leaky gut syndrome, you probably want at least 5 grams a day. And you can easily double that to 10 grams a day, 2 teaspoons a day, at least for the short term. All right. I think that's all I'm going to say about glutamine. There's so much more I could say about glutamine. Glutamine's been used to treat alcohol addiction. It's used to treat depression. It can be used as protection for osteoporosis. It can be used to keep your skin youthful and wrinkle-free and resilient. But I think that we're going to leave that all for another time. We've been spending a couple weeks talking about glutamine, but I want to get to the next important building block for glutathione, and that is the amino acid cysteine, the somewhat mysterious amino acid cysteine. We don't hear a lot about it. Cysteine can be thought of as a raw material for glutathione in much the same way that glutamine is a raw material for glutathione. I've had a warm spot in my heart for cysteine for many years. It was the first amino acid that I personally started using as a supplement, mostly for its detox properties. Cysteine is perhaps the most important detoxification amino acid, in addition to being a key component of glutathione, which is an important detox substance. Cysteine has a little tiny piece of sulfur on it, and sulfur is amazingly electromagnetic. It can help attract toxins out of the body. Sulfur in all its many forms is very, very important for detoxification, and cysteine is a source of sulfur. Cysteine is so important for detox that it's actually an emergency room protocol in hospitals for addressing liver poisoning. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Like glutamine, cysteine is an animal protein. It's found in animal proteins. It's an amino acid that's found in meat and fish and dairy as well, and in eggs. And it is a major source of dietary sulfur. Like glutamine, cysteine can be made in the body. It's not a so-called essential amino acid, but it's probably a good idea to make sure that you're getting it in the diet. If you're a vegetarian, you've got to take extra care. If you're a vegan or a vegetarian, you're going to have to take extra care to make sure that you're getting cysteine. If you're vegetarian, you can probably get your cysteine from whey and from egg. But if you're a vegan, you're going to have a little bit of a harder time trying to get enough cysteine. There are ways to do it, but you do really need to make sure that you're focusing on getting cysteine in the body. Nutritionists call these kinds of amino acids that you don't absolutely 100% need to supplement with, that you can make, but you probably should be getting through the diet and through supplements. Nutritionists call these conditionally essential. They're not essential in the sense that you absolutely must have them. There are some amino acids like that, but they're conditionally essential. Glutamine and cysteine, that basically means it's a good idea to make sure that you're focusing on getting some through supplements or through your diet. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. We're going to take a commercial break, and we will be back right after this. Don't go away. All right, we are back on The Bright Side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Thanks for joining us today. 855-660-4261 is our number. Did a great talk in Austin, Texas last Thursday. Thank you, guys. Thank you all for attending. It was a wonderful, wonderful event, and hope to be out in Austin again sometime soon. And thank you to Deb Stevens at Logos Radio Network for putting that on. Also to Harlan at Brave New Books. Had a great time. Thank you all for attending. Hopefully I'll be out there back in Austin sometime in the summer. Let's see what else I was going to tell you here. I'm going to be doing a talk in Santa Cruz the beginning of March. I'll be doing a talk in Arkansas, Hot Springs, Arkansas, at the beginning of April as well. We'll get you more details as time moves on. Can't believe we're already moving into February already, end of January. What the heck is going on here? All right. We are talking about glutamine and cysteine and peptides and glutathione for bodybuilding, bone building, tissue building, connective tissue building, anti-aging, immune system. The amino acid cysteine is super important. It's a source of sulfur. It's a detoxifying amino acid. It's found in animal protein. It's conditionally essential, meaning that you don't absolutely positively have to supplement with it, but it's probably not a bad idea. If you're healthy, maybe not so much, not so important, but if you got chronic stresses, degenerative diseases, this is everybody pretty much, chronic physiologic stresses, emotional and mental stresses, degenerative diseases, if you're post-surgery, or if you're otherwise unhealthy, whatever it is, even if you're just getting frequent colds, or if you have some kind of immune suppression going on, you might want to think about NAC, about cysteine, and NAC is the most common supplemental form, N-acetylcysteine, which we'll talk about here momentarily. Of course, when we talk about chronic degenerative diseases and stresses, we're really talking about the vast majority of Americans. So even though cysteine is not an essential amino acid, it's probably a good idea to supplement with it. It's a very, very powerful detoxifier. I consider it to be the most powerful detoxifying amino acid, with the possible exception of glutamine. It can be protective against radiation and against heavy metals. For you guys who are worried about Fukushima and about radiation, cysteine, using cysteine supplementally or getting enough cysteine in your diet can be protective against radiation as well as heavy metals. It's an antioxidant. It can be protective against the sun, against solar radiation, sunburn. Try taking NAC or cysteine, upping your intake of cysteine. If you're a sun worshiper, if you're laying out in the sun, if you're playing a lot of golf or tennis in the sun, if it's summertime, if you're one of those folks that burns readily, you might want to consider some supplemental cysteine. It can help reduce the age the aging effects of the sun, the age-inducing effects of the sun. This is one of the reasons that nature has seen fit to store cysteine in hair and skin and other external parts of the body. The fingernails are also contain high concentrations of cysteine. So cysteine is found in the external parts of the body, partially because it is a hard amino acid. It's got a hardening property, and also because of its ability to help the body process solar radiation and environmental protection, and to act as an environmental protectant. Cysteine is the amino acid that gives nails their hard character. If you notice that your nails are getting thin, the chances are your body is beginning to break down. Thin nails are a classic sign of a degenerative process that's going on in the body. A good skincare professional, a good esthetician, or a good dermatologist will always look at their patient's fingernails. You want your fingernails to be strong and hard. If they're brittle or if they're thin, if you got little spots going on or ridges in your fingernails, you are dealing with some kind of degenerative disease, or you're dealing with some kind of digestive problem or nutritional deficiency. If your nails are getting thin, or your nails are brittle, they're breaking quickly, the chances are pretty good that you're not absorbing protein from the gut, and you're especially not absorbing cysteine from the gut. And of course, it's always possible that your body's under some kind of stress, and you may be utilizing cysteine for detox purposes. And if you're not supplementing with cysteine or making sure that you're getting your cysteine, you're going to probably end up with brittle nails. The body doesn't really consider the fingernails to be super duper important, certainly not like the bones or the internal organs. So it's going to partition the cysteine. It's going to compartmentalize the cysteine to the more important tissues of the body, and you're going to have less in your fingernails. If you notice that your nails are breaking a lot, you notice that your nails are getting thinner, you should be regarding this not as a cosmetic problem, not as a beauty issue or a superficial issue, but as a health problem, an internal health problem. And the first thing you might want to do if your nails are getting weak is focus on absorption of protein out of the gut. If you have a combination of weak, brittle nails and digestive problems, bingo, you can rest assured that you are not absorbing nutrients out of the digestive tract. And of course, while that may cause problems with your nails, it may make your nails brittle, and you may not like that, there's a lot worse problems that you're dealing with if you're not absorbing protein and you're not absorbing amino acids. This is why I do this program, you guys. Because if you go to the doctor, he's not going to even look at your nails probably, and he's not going to tell you that you need more nutritional supplements, or you need to work on your digestive system, or you need to work on absorption of proteins, or you need some digestive acids, or you need to make sure you're getting enzymes. There's no doctor that's going to tell you that. They're going to come up with some kind of prescription drug to supposedly treat whatever you're dealing with. But it could be something, whatever your degenerative health crisis is, osteoporosis or an immune disorder of some kind, whatever it is, it could very well be something as simple as focusing on absorption out of the gut, out of the small intestine. So cysteine is a hard protein. It's a hard amino acid. Think nail, think hair, think skin, think keratin. If you're a cow, think hooves, think horns. Right? If you're a rhinoceros, think horns. Anywhere in nature where you got hardness, whether it's horns or hooves or feathers, or if you're a human, if you skin and hair, when you got hardness, you got cysteine. And if you're not processing cysteine correctly, you could have hardness in the wrong parts of your body, like stones, like kidney stones or bladder stones. In fact, 2% of all kidney stones are actually cysteine stones. There's stones that are made out of cysteine. Most stones are calcium stones. Probably 85% of your stones are calcium stones and have something to do with poor not processing calcium correctly. Some stones are uric acid, and that has to do with diabetes and blood sugar problems. Some stones are something called struvite, Struvite. That's a form of magnesium, and again, that has to do with not processing minerals correctly, and it could have to do with digestive problems. But around 2% or so of your stones are actually cysteine stones. And if you have cysteine stones, again, chances are you're not absorbing cysteine effectively. Cells which need the cysteine aren't getting it, and the cysteine is being cleared out of your body, and it's clogging up inside the kidney and the bladder and your plumbing, and it could be really cause some severe pain in the lower back, blood in the urine, nausea and vomiting, pain in your groin or pelvis area, maybe the abdominal area. All of these can be signs of cysteine stones. The most likely cause of a cysteine stone is is excessively acidic urine. This is a sign of general toxicity in the body. When the urine is acidic, the cystine can precipitate and can form stones. Acidic urine can also be caused, in addition to being just a sign of general toxicity in the body, acidic urine can also be caused by kidney disease. That, I suppose, that's also a sign of general body toxicity. In other words, as our bodies break down, as health challenges accumulate, when it comes to stones, you're more likely to have, whether it's uric acid, calcium, or struvite, or cystine, you're more likely to have the formation of stones. If you do have stones, kidney stones, whatever they are, cystine stones or struvite or any kind of kidney stones, you want to be addressing the whole body as a system. Whatever it is you're dealing with, you want to focus on the whole body. You go to a doctor, they're going to give you a drug to raise the pH of your urine, to alkalinize your urine. They'll tell you to drink more water. All of these are great ideas, but if you are forming stones, you want to be focusing on your entire body chemistry. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side on the Genesis Communication Network. We're coming back with your phone calls. 855-660-4261 is our number. Don't go away. We'll be back after this. We're back on The Bright Side. I am Pharmacist Ben. 855-660-4261 is our number. I was in Barnes & Noble yesterday looking through the medical books. I like browsing through those books, and I found a really cool book by Ty Bollinger, my friend Ty. I know he told me he was writing a book, but I didn't know it was out already. It's called Monumental Myths of the Modern Medical Mafia and Mainstream Media, and it's a really neat book. It's easy to read. It's got lots of graphics in here. And it's got a lot of really neat points in it. And thank you, Ty, for putting this out. Hopefully we'll get Ty on the air and he can talk about the book. It's called Monumental Myths of the Modern Medical Mafia and Mainstream Media. You could probably get it off the internet. Mike Adams wrote the preface to it. Speaking of Mike Adams, he had a neat story on his website, naturalnews.com, which I read regularly. Mike does awesome work. And it's about Stephen Ewer's product, One World Whey. Now, we've been talking about the One World Whey protein on this program for a long time. Headline here, One World Whey protein tests 100 times cleaner than popular vegan proteins for heavy metals. How do you like that for you guys who are vegans out there? That's lead, arsenic, cadmium, and mercury. And Mike does a lot of testing of these kinds of foods. And surprise, surprise, no surprise if you've been listening to this program, because I know that the One World Whey is an awesome product. Stephen Ewer does great work too. He's the guy who puts out the One World Whey, and that's the thing about proteins, by the way, is they tend to be processed. You got to process them, and so if you're using a cheapo protein that you're getting it off the internet or GNC or something like that, you're very likely going to end up with processing chemicals. You're very likely going to end up with heavy metals. You may end up with damaged proteins. So it's really important that you don't skimp or you don't cut corners on a good protein supplement. And even if you have to pay a little bit extra, it's worth it. Eat less of it, but pay extra. And that's the One World Whey. Might be a little bit pricier than other forms of whey protein. By the way, I get no benefit. I have no financial interest in this at all. I'm just telling you guys this because it's a great supplement. It's the one I use. It tastes great, and Stephen does great work, and so you're going to benefit him. But also, it's a great source of protein, and of course, whey protein is the most powerful protein going, with the possible exception of egg. Egg and whey protein are the two most important proteins going, and if you're not supplementing with whey protein, folks, you are truly missing the boat on a good protein supplement. There are some folks, of course, who are going to have problems, a little bit of problems with whey protein. There's usually a little lactose in there, so if you're lactose intolerant, you may have an issue. The more active your protein is, the more likely it is that you're going to have some kind of allergic reaction. That's always a possibility. If you can't do whey, if you find that you feel bloated or uncomfortable when you do whey, you have a couple options. You can do less whey. You can do less concentrated whey. Sometimes that helps. You can also do your whey protein with enzymes, and sometimes that helps. And you can also make sure that you're doing a little swig of apple cider vinegar, or you're taking your ultimate enzymes with bile salts after your whey protein, with betaine HCl, which acts as an acidifying agent. You can take betaine HCl as an acidifying agent, and that sometimes can help you also. If you do your egg protein, you find that you have some digestive distress associated with your egg protein, or you're breaking out, or you have some kind of allergic response, again, you can do your eggs with enzymes or with apple cider vinegar. That can help with the absorption. Or sometimes if you do raw eggs, you will find that you don't have a reaction, whereas if you did scrambled or cooked eggs, you did. And by the way, when it comes to eggs, or all protein really, the more you cook, the less value that protein is going to have, with the exception of meat, where if you cook your meat a little bit, you may help break up the amino acids and help make them a little bit more accessible, but you definitely don't want to overcook your meat. You don't want your meat to be overcooked or even well done for that matter. Steak tartare is also great. In any case, the One World Whey protein tested out really clean. This is all on Mike Adams' website, naturalnews.com, and he does say here that the exception, he says here he stopped consuming all vegan proteins altogether. And again, that's because of the heavy processing that's associated with these proteins. I go to these food shows and supplement shows and raw materials and ingredient shows once or twice a year. And I'll always talk to the protein folks, the folks who are selling protein raw materials, pea protein, soy protein, bean proteins. There's all these various proteins. And I'm always astounded at the amount of processing that it takes to extract proteins out of legumes and out of vegetables. And vegan proteins are the most heavily processed of all proteins. So you think you're doing well by being a vegan and you're getting your protein from rice or from soy, and what you're missing, what you may be not taking into account, is the fact that these kinds of proteins are super, super heavily processed. The more processed a protein is, the more likely it's going to be broken down, the more likely it's going to be to have processing chemicals and even heavy metals as well. And as Mike says, that's true about all vegan proteins, with the exception of hemp protein, which, if you're a vegan and you're not doing egg and you're not doing whey, that is the best source of protein, vegan protein. The best source of vegan protein, hemp seed protein. Let's see what else I want to tell you. Got open lines for you. Nobody's on the line, so we're going to continue talking about cysteine. If you do want to get on board, now is your chance. 855-660-4261 is our number. We'll just continue talking about cysteine. If you don't have any questions or you don't have any comments, I got lots to say here about this very important amino acid, this very important sulfur amino acid, cysteine, which is found in dairy. It's found in eggs. It's found in all animal proteins. And as I was saying before we went to break, it is conditionally essential, but it's probably a good idea to supplement with it. Cysteine is a very, very powerful detoxification amino acid, especially for radiation toxicity. And it's also very important, believe it or not, for building connective tissue. We talk a lot about building connective tissue on this program. Building connective tissue is unspeakably important when it comes to anti-aging. Remember, you got 4 types of tissue in the body. If you look at the body, you think about the body, it looks like it's kind of confusing, and there's all these working parts. You got all the muscles and all the bones and all the blood vessels and the nervous system, et cetera, et cetera. And it can be kind of overwhelming, but really, the body is only made up of 4 parts. How do you like that? The body is only made up of 4 parts. It's got the bulk of the body, which is connective tissue and muscle tissue. It's wired with electricity. That's the nervous tissue. And the whole thing is candy coated with epithelial tissue. That's your entire body, folks. Connective tissue, muscle tissue blended together. It's wired with nervous tissue, the nervous system that electrifies the whole thing. And then it's all coated with something called epithelial tissue. And that's how our bodies are made up. Why is this important? Well, if we're looking at each other and we see that we appear to be getting older, if we're looking in the mirror and it looks like we're getting older, well, that's a connective and muscle tissue issue. That involves the connective tissue and the muscle tissue. In fact, the visible signs of aging, the vast majority of the visible... Oh, now you guys are all calling. Great. Okay, we'll get your calls here in a second here. Let me just finish this up real quick. The vast majority of the signs of aging, the wrinkling and the shriveling and the shrinking and the contraction that takes place, all of this is connective tissue and muscle tissue. Connective tissue and muscle tissue are the steak of the body. If you look at a steak, you'll see muscle tissue and connective tissue. The muscle tissue is the pink stuff, and the white stuff that's wired through, the so-called marbling, that's the connective tissue. Fat is a type of connective tissue, by the way. It's the blend of connective tissue and muscle tissue that accounts for all of the visible signs of aging. And understanding how to build the connective tissue-muscle tissue complex, mostly the connective tissue, is the key to keeping your body strong and healthy and looking good. And I've been in the skincare business for a long time, folks, and let me tell you something. There's nothing more important for keeping your skin wrinkle-free than building your connective tissue and your muscle tissue. And using cysteine and using these sulfur amino acids and supplements like glutamine can be very, very important in this regard. All right, we're coming back with your phone calls. Stay on the line. Don't go away. 855-660-4261 is our number. I'm Pharmacist Ben. We'll be back after this.
Free from the shackles of corporate America, we're the place for independent thinkers. GCN.
We are back on the bright side. 855-660-4261 is our number. You guys try to call earlier so we can get to as many calls as we can. I got a whole bunch of folks who want to talk to us now, and we only have a couple of minutes, so we'll try to get to everybody here. Hopefully, we'll try to get to all our calls. But it helps if you call in earlier, and that way we can give you as much time as you need. I hate rushing through phone calls. RC in California, what's up, buddy?
Hey, I have a friend we have a mutual friend, and I have seen this lady coming to the gym and hadn't seen her for about 3 months, and I saw her, and she just looked awful. I mean, just like really heavy, and she was a runner. And anyway, he told me that she has something called Pick's disease, P-I-C-K-S.
Pick's disease.
Frontotemporal dementia disease.
Say it one more time. So they got all these darn names for diseases, but say it one more time. We'll try to figure out what this is.
The generic, I guess the easy term, the layman's term is Pick's disease.
I'm sorry, you just cut out. What kind of disease?
Pick's, P-I-C-K-S.
Oh, Pick's disease. I thought you were saying Tick's disease. You mean P as in Paul, Pick's disease.
Yes.
P-I-C-K-S, Pick's disease, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay, no, that's different. That's a kind of brain disease. I think you're just talking about Tick's disease, like a Lyme disease or something. Yeah, Pick's disease is a type of Alzheimer's disease or a version of Alzheimer's disease. Is that what you're talking about? Like a brain issue?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. That's it's basically dementia. You know, Alzheimer's disease is a type of dementia. There's various dementias. When you have dementia, your brain is degenerating. Your brain is messed up. So what do you do? Well, it's the same thing as you do for osteoporosis, or you do for autoimmune disease, or you do for any disease. You got to focus on what is causing neurons or brain cells to break down. Remember, all disease is cell disease. So the first thing you want to do when you have a degenerative disease, and a degenerative disease is a disease that doesn't get better. That's the definition of a degenerative disease. If you have dementia or any other kind of degenerative disease, you want to focus on the cells. All disease is cell disease, right? If it's osteoporosis, it's bone cell disease. If it's fibromyalgia, it's muscle cell disease. If it's Pick's disease or Alzheimer's, it's neuron disease, nerve cell disease. What causes a cell to break down? What causes a cell to be sick? Remember, you guys, a cell is very complicated. A cell has got millions of working parts, and all of these millions of working parts have to be structured and organized just so. If you look at a cell, if you zoom into with your mind's eye at a cell, you're going to see an amazing little system, and that system requires energy in order to do its work. It requires energy in order to maintain its structure and organization. As that cell becomes de-energized, it starts to break down, and this is disease. That's it, folks. Why isn't your doctor telling you about it? Because he can't do anything about it. That's why doctors don't tell you that all disease is cell disease, because they can't do anything about cell disease. Cell disease requires taking care of whatever is blocking that cell from getting nutrients, blocking that cell from getting oxygen, blocking that cell from detoxifying itself. All cell disease is toxification, starvation, suffocation. This leads to inflammation, which causes more toxification, starvation, and suffocation, which causes more inflammation, and onward we go in the downward spiral of degeneration. So what do? First of all, we got to break that cycle. That means for your friend or the lady with the Pick's disease, number one, we got to focus on what is getting into the body that's causing this inflammatory response. That means foods. Focus on the digestive system, repair the gut, use glutamine, use the digestive enzymes after meals, apple cider vinegar after meals, lecithin, bile salts, all the things we talk about here on the bright side for the digestive system, the Biolumin Nightly Essence, the best probiotic supplement going, sipping on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, making sure she's getting her nutrients nutrients in liquid format. So important. The second thing you want to do is protect the cells from suffocation by making sure she's deep breathing correctly, oxygenating, spending 2 or 3 minutes deep breathing. Just that alone will help with dementia, symptoms of dementia. Just oxygenation alone will help with the symptoms of dementia, of any kind of degenerative disease. But for your friend or this gal, make sure you might want to advise her to practice her deep breathing techniques. The third thing you want to do is make sure she's getting on a good nutritional supplement program, especially supplements, fatty supplements. The brain is very receptive to fatty nutrients like vitamin E and coenzyme Q10. I'd be using 400 international units of a mixed tocopherol, as well as 100 milligrams a day of coenzyme Q10 in its ubiquinone or ubiquinol form. The ubiquinol is a little bit more potent than the ubiquinone, but either way, coenzyme Q10 is very important for brain health. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea for her to start to get in some essential fatty acids, especially omega-3 fats, very important for brain health. And then last, but most certainly not least, there's a whole bunch of other things, but the last thing I want to tell you about is the B complex, which is super important for brain health. You'll get that in the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, of course, high doses of that, but it might not be a bad idea for her to take in something called the B100. You get that at a health food store, in addition to vitamin B12 injections. Any kind of nervous system disease or brain disease or a movement disorder or palsy, think about vitamin B12, which is difficult to absorb, which requires various chemical factors in the digestive system for its absorption. If you have any kind of stomach problems, if you're not making enough stomach acid, the odds are pretty good you're not going to get vitamin B12 out of your foods. That's even if you are eating the foods that contain B12, which are animal proteins, animal type foods. But most of us aren't even, or many of us, especially if she has Pick's disease, many of us aren't even getting the B12, even if we're getting those kinds of foods. So B12 injections or B12 supplements probably are a good idea. Thanks for your call, RC. Appreciate it very much, and good luck. Let's see, Brian in New Hampshire. What's going on, my friend?
Hey, Ben. I have a couple questions. I've been following you pretty closely over the past couple of years. And I think I have a problem when it comes to high cortisol levels, and I have problems with, like a lingering problem with acidity in my stomach. So I was going to ask you about Himalayan sea salt.
That's great. I mean, you got more problem, and it's not going to take care of your cortisol issues. There's a lot of other things you want to do for cortisol. And by the way, you're in good company, Brian. Most people have hypercortisol issues, especially as we get older. Many of the signs of aging that we assume are just parts of aging, wrinkling skin and thinning skin and bone problems and immune problems and dry skin, etc., are really cortisol issues. So a lot of times we just think we're getting older, and when we're really just under a lot of stress, and our body's making the stress chemical cortisol. So sea salt and Himalayan salt in general are really good for the adrenal glands, which make cortisol. So yes, indeed, Himalayan salt is an awesome supplement. I like Celtic sea salt a little bit better. If you prefer Himalayan salt, that's great. But what you want to look for is not, when we talk about salt and making sure you're getting enough salt, what you want to be focusing on is not Morton's or table salt. Table salt only provides you with 2 elements, maybe 3 if you count the iodine. But Himalayan salt and Celtic sea salt have a well-rounded mineral spectrum. So you're getting a lot more minerals. You're getting, things like iron and tin and selenium and magnesium and potassium when you do your sea salt and your Himalayan salt, and all those are wonderful for the adrenal glands. Are you craving salt, Brian? Do you like salty foods?
I often will crave salt, but I don't eat it. What I do is I either take, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Garden of Life, but I take a raw meal, or I just take whey protein. I
love Garden of Life. But you're still not getting salt. Garden of Life is a probiotic, and whey protein is great too, and that's all great, but you're still not getting salt. So you got to give yourself salt. You want to be proactive with salt, because if you're not proactive with salt, you're gonna find yourself just drawn to potato chips and pretzels, and a lot of times when we get these kinds of salty foods, we're also getting a lot of crap with them. So you want to be proactive with your salt so you don't find yourself going to the snack foods, because we just love snack foods because snack foods are combinations of salt and oil, and the combination of salt and oil is absolutely irresistible if you're deficient in salt and you're deficient in oil. So be proactive with your salt and oil. Use salt and oil together. Use salt and oil, mix salt with fatty foods such as avocados. The combination of avocados and sea salt or Himalayan salt is not only ridiculously delicious, so amazingly tasty, especially if you're deficient in salt and deficient in oil, i.e. if you're like most of us. And not only is it delicious and unbelievably tasty, but it's also a wonderful way to get good fats And it's a wonderful way to make sure that you're getting salt. If you eat 2 avocados with salt, sprinkled liberally with salt, not only will you find yourself completely satisfied, but you'll also be taking care of your salt cravings as well. And of course, you'll also be benefiting your skin and your brain and all the other parts of your body that depend on electrical energy. Oil is electrical. Oil is powerful. Oil is energy, and salt amps up that electrical energy. That's why we are hardwired to love salt and to love oil. But what you want to do is you want to be proactive by giving yourself good salt, like Himalayan salt and Celtic sea salt, and good oils, like essential fatty acids, the ultimate EFAs from longevity, or oil foods that contain good oils. Fish, of course, is great, and so is avocados. Thanks for your call, Brian. In New Hampshire, appreciate it. Sorry if we left you on hold. Got to call in earlier so we can get to all our callers. That's all the time we have for today, folks. Thanks so much for listening in. On the bright side, we'll be back at you tomorrow. We'll continue talking about proteins and peptides and cysteine, and we'll tell you about foods that you can use to get cysteine, and then we'll continue talking about building connective tissue as we continue with our discussion on proteins and peptides and osteoporosis, because that's what this whole conversation about proteins, that's how we began this whole conversation on proteins a couple of months ago. Thanks so much for listening, friends. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Check out my blog, pharmacistben.com, or check out my website, brightsideben.com. Click on the Join the Team link and join me in my mission to educate the world about the power and importance of a good nutritional supplement program. We will talk to you all later. Have a wonderful, beautiful day. Bye for now.